Gary, this is the first interview we've done since May, since the end of last season. One, like people are asking about getting rid of the whole, basically the whole of last year's team. You know, why did you do it? And two, do you think it's showing fruition?
Okay, first part then. We made the decision, and it's interesting that there's at least 3 other managers that have said the same thing in print, that you can't compete in this division if you're not full-time. You just can't compete. It will always be a relegation battle. Now, I'll come on to our league position later. So I made the decision last year. I spoke to the club December. I asked for X amount of money. I was told that it wasn't there, that the budget this year would be the same as last year. So I looked at the situation in the industry financially, and we are running on exactly the same budget as last year, but we are training more. Okay, so we are training every day, but we're running on exactly the same budget. Now, I would have gone to, there were 8 players that I would have liked to have kept that I felt could play at this level and could step up and go full time, but they were working full-time jobs, and I was only going to offer them exactly the same money that they were on last season. So those players would not have gone full-time on that money. I did have several conversations with different players. They couldn't do it. They had responsibilities.
So you didn't actually feel they weren't good enough then?
No, there's players that I think that, I mean, you can go through the team and you could compare them to these players, and everybody's got a different opinion, but they wouldn't have done the training level. They wouldn't have done the amount of training that we're doing now for the money that they were on last year. But we don't have, when we've gone full time, the budget is exactly the same. In fact, in January last year, I asked for extra money in the budget, and I signed Clark Masters, Andre Stolkers and Ed Harris. They said that the budget would be what it was at the start of last season, so it's exactly the same budget. The money is exactly the same. The only money that I've saved is that by training full time, you actually save money, because we're paying, I'm not going to go into the figures, but I spent an awful long time, first of all, looking for a full-size pitch, floodlit, that's either AstroTurf, 3G Astro or grass. Now, the price is astronomical. People could do the phone calls if they want to, but I spent 6 weeks trying to find somewhere that we could train in, because we knew we were losing Rosedale and we knew we were losing the Warren, so we'd know where to train anyway, so we would have had to pay. Now, even the prices that we were astronomical, but even if we had the money, it's just not available. You try finding within a 25-mile radius of this, where we sit now, a full-size pitch.
Facilities where I work.
It's not available.
Yeah.
So by training full-time, we're actually saving, it's about £300 or £400 a week.
I stand to be corrected, but I think most of the players have actually gone back to this Conference South. Or
yeah, I mean,
you know,
you look at the only player that's still playing at this level is Mark Cannon, and that's more a geographical thing than a football thing. So if there was somebody that had been picked up by another club that had gone on, and we had 5 or 6 of those players playing the conference or above, then I'd quite happily hold my hand up and say, okay, maybe I made a mistake. But this is not just me. You're looking at, whatever it is, 23 other conference managers that have looked at those players, and believe me, they all tried to stay in the conference. Yeah. They've looked at those players and gone, you know what, you're not good enough for the money that you're looking for. So it's not just me. And it beggars belief sometimes that where some players are playing, and everybody, I see things on our fans, and I say that in inverted commas because I don't believe some of those people are fans with what they say and how they react. But on that fans forum, some of the things that have been said, the number of times that I've had people say it to me, and I've gone and looked at it, and I would like that person to say to my face, it beggars belief, but people are entitled to their opinion. But the 2 things with the full-time training full-time, the players wouldn't have taken the money. We've had it from literally every single club. How can you afford to be full-time on your the number of fans that you get through the door? We're on exactly the same budget, in fact less than what we ended on last year. And right now I've got a surplus at the moment. From the start of the season to now, I've got a surplus, but I haven't even spent the budget. But I've been told, it's been made absolutely clear that up to the budget I can spend what I want, but I cannot go over the budget. And this is, you know, people have to look around and say there's 350 people in the ground. You know, we don't have the facility to do that. Now maybe in January, if I feel that the club, the chairman, I went to them in January and said, look, I feel that we're going to be okay, but I'd like to secure it by signing 3 players, explain the situation, and the club backed it with extra money. Maybe that might happen in January, I don't know. Is it working? Ask me at the end of the season. My own view was that that team that finished last year 17th was the absolute best that they could finish. Now we might finish 17th again, but I think this is a team that is capable of finishing the top 10.
Well, I remember speaking to you at a reserve game in middle of May when the season had finished and you'd released the players, and I said to you, Gary, what you done? And you said to me, you know, that those players next year could take us down, and I'm not prepared to let that happen to this club.
Exactly, and for me 17th is not good enough, and to be I guarantee that it would have been a relegation battle this year, whereas I think that with these players, this team, and the way this team is playing, and this performance, their manager said to me there, Gary, I'm really sorry about that, you deserve to win there. That's what he said. And
people have been walking out saying to me.
Exactly, so it will change and it will turn. I firmly believe that if we stick to and work with the same integrity that we are doing, and be honest, then and do an honest day shift, every day training, every day on games, then it'll turn. It always does. And I've got no doubts about that. And the only concern is that the players keep the belief in the way they're playing.
I've noticed on the website, and also noticed today, that 2 years ago you'd have got a lot of stick. You'd have been, people have been shouting at you and that. I think they're all worried at the moment because several times at this club you managed to turn round and turn things round and people and shut them up, basically. You know what I mean? Do you think that now? Do you think you get as much stick as what you used to? Or, you know?
I think there are.
I mean, let's be frank.
I don't want to give the people that go onto the forum any. If you're not prepared to put your name to your comment, then I think you're a coward, basically. I had a problem with a supporter in the club who refused to speak to my face and called me names as my back was turned, and I turned around and I confronted him and he still did the same thing. Now, since then I think we've got to a relationship with that supporter who's prepared to talk to me to my face, and I'm quite happy to do that. But the people on the forum, I think, I don't know, I've been doubted I think 3 or 4 times at this club, and I think I've earned the right now to be to have some backing and some support.
I mean,
well, I mean, you only see the bad stuff. I only see the bad stuff, but I've been through worse things, and I've had stadiums of 20 and 30,000 screaming abuse at me, and it's, believe me, here is it just rolls off my back. I just find it amusing and I find it disappointing, and I know that the players look at it as well, and the players, I'm sure, will look at it and go, it disappoints them as well, and that's when it has an effect on the players. I think it's wrong, and that's why I would suggest that those people are not supporters. There are 3 or 4 individuals on there who everything's negative. But that's people get their opinion, so
yeah, right. James Mully, tell us what happened with James. Please.
James played more games for me than anybody else. He always had certain attributes that were. I talked about it with him on many occasions. He had attributes that were good for us, and I always felt that James always added something when he came onto the pitch. When he came on as a sub, and he always added something. And I would have been quite happy for him to play that role. He felt that he was better than that, and that he wanted to start games, and that's fair enough. But I felt that it had got to a stage where, because of his frustration at not starting games, he'd lost what he was offering coming onto the pitch, and he wanted to play matches. I looked at the, we operate on a very strict and very tight financial restraints, and so we've got players that would offer what I was looking for from him for much cheaper. And if I wanted to change things around, players have to go. And unfortunately, James, I couldn't see him being a regular starter. I couldn't see him. He had a lot of opportunities, and I feel he went to Charlton, did pre-season with Charlton, was very frustrated at his lack of opportunities. And I think it was right for him and for us that he went and started games. And he's gone to Chelmsford. I don't know how many games he started, but I would like to think we left on good terms. And I wouldn't have a problem working with him again in the future. But I think under the financial constraints that we've got, it was difficult to have a player on the wages he was on sitting on the bench who wasn't offering as much as I wanted him to. So unfortunately, he had to go.
You must be disappointed with our league position. What are you working on to improve the results? I think you've covered some of that earlier.
Defend better, score more goals, take our chances.
Yeah. Can I just ask you about Ben Wright, coming onto that, because he went to Newport last week.
Mhm.
He was a mini revelation in the few games he
Mhm.
played here, and could we not have grabbed him before he went to Newport, or again, was that
Well,
financial?
first of all, I spent 6 weeks working on Ben Wright in the summer. He played here against, I think it was Wickham, and did very well, and I couldn't do it financially. I just couldn't do it financially, and I'll be honest, I think I was the only one at the club that was really keen on him, as keen as I was. He comes in, again, worked very hard with him. When he did come in, played games and scored goals and did very well. And I was very, very pleased and very proud of the work that I'd done with him, and he was delighted to be here. Peterborough couldn't, the only way Peterborough could call him back was to sell him. They agreed a fee with Crawley, and then Ben turned the deal down and wanted to stay. Then they came back with more money and he turned it down again. And it was only the third time, when they really threw the money at him, that he went. He's gone there, he hasn't played. I've spoken to him on several occasions, and unfortunately, financially we couldn't do it. And I would have taken it. We have a financial situation here, and I'm right up to the budget. I've got a little bit of a surplus, but it ain't enough to take Ben Wright. What I would say is that Newport have also offered more money than we had. And somebody else offered more money as well than we could have offered, but he made it quite clear to Crawley that his preferred option would be to come to us, and I just didn't have the money for him. Spoke to the chairman, and the chairman said, well, you know, if you can get somebody out, then fair enough, but we're under contract and we've got obligations to a number of players, and you can't just walk away from that. And so I did. There may be some money available later in December, but Ben signed for until the 20th of January, and so it won't be possible to get him if that's the case, if that's an opportunity.
He signed for more than a month, it
Yeah.
said on the website.
No, he signed until the 20th of January.
Oh, is he? That's not good news then, is it?
No, but these things happen. If I'd have got all the players that I wanted to, then we'd have 5 or 6 different faces here. But you always get knocked back and you just move on.
Yeah. How about loan players? Any more loan players thinking about getting
Yes.
in? That brings me on to the next question about Queen's Park Rangers.
Mhm.
You seem to have a little bit of a tie-up, obviously being a West London club, and us being a West London club. Do you think that's a good thing that they're loaning
Yeah, I
their
think
players?
so. Not only are they loaning our players, they're not requiring that we pay their full wages, and so they're also taking a hit on the wages for us. They've been exceptional. I've known Stephen Gallen, the U-team manager is Stephen Gallen. I've known him since 99, I think. I played with him in Ireland. No, before that, 95. I first met him. He was based in Dublin, and I was giving him a lift up to Northern Ireland. So I've always had a very good relationship with him. We took Chris Arthur from them 2-3 years ago. And it's been a little bit difficult because of the various different managers, but it's always a club that we've looked at. Ed Harris last year, there was a couple of other players that were available to us as well. But since Ronnie Jepson, Mick Jones and Bill Warnock have gone in there, Ronnie and Mick have been tremendous, really helped us out, and I'd like to think that we've done them a favour as well, in that Lee Brown's gone back, and if he's not involved, I think he'll go to a League 1 or a League 2 club, and at the end of the season they might get some money for him, because he's come to us and played. So yeah, there are other players there. I was actually at the U-team game this morning, so I'm well aware of the group of players that they've got, who's available, who's not, and we played them in a friendly last week, and that's a relationship that will continue to grow, I think.